things just took a turn as the Boston Celtics were linked to having interest and being the favorites to landing Ben Simmons. But within the last 24 hours, we have learned a lot of what Ben Simmons has been considering moving forward in his career with the NBA and what his decision may be. Well, we're going to have to see within the next couple of hours to what Ben Simmons is looking to do in his career. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video here on Celtics Digest. I'm your host, Patrick Billings. And before we get into anything, guys, if you're loving the content that we're doing here on Celtics Digest, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I mean, if you guys have been watching our videos and you love watching and just love hearing about the Boston Celtics and any type of updates on Boston Celtics news, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Come and watch. We'll drop some news on the Celtics daily, even weekly. Anytime that we hear anything on the Boston Celtics, you're going to get it here on Celtics Digest. So make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's get right into this video. So we're talking about Ben Simmons, somebody that really hasn't shown us anything in the last few years and anything close to being that all-star, all-NBA type of player that he was when he started his career, as he's dealt with some injuries and really just hasn't been able to get on the court whatsoever. But in the last few months, the Boston Celtics have been linked to signing Ben Simmons, even listed as favorites to getting Ben Simmons. And now what we are hearing in the last 24 hours that might all be out the window, as Ben Simmons is considering retiring from the NBA, which could somewhat come as a surprise because he has been trying to battle back and get on the court and really turn his career around. But as I said earlier, he's been dealing with some mental things and some injury-prone issues, and that's really been keeping him off the court, and it's becoming a problem, and it definitely hurts as a player to try and just constantly battle back to get to the place that you're at, especially a guy like Ben Simmons, who's made a ton of money over his career and was getting comparisons to LeBron James when he was coming into the league. So it's definitely really hard for a player like him to just get back to where he was at and just dealing with all these different issues. But as we just saw in the last couple of hours, that Ben Simmons, as per the Mark Stein, the Stein line, as Ben Simmons decides his next career steps, I'm told Bernie Lee has notified the NBPA, really hard to say for some reason, but that he has formally removed himself from the union's ledger as Simmons' agent. So within the last 24 hours, we get a report that Ben Simmons is considering retiring, and now we're hearing, as of a couple hours ago, that his agent doesn't even want to work with Ben Simmons. So now he doesn't even have an agent. So this can tell you a lot of what is going on just on the cover of things. We don't know what's going on at all behind the scenes with Ben Simmons or anybody around him, but this is very telling that he really might be retiring, and we might be getting some news somewhat soon on this, since we just heard yesterday that he's considering it. Today, his agent's leaving him. So now what are we looking at for Ben Simmons looking forward? Well, Ben Simmons, as we're being told from Brian Windhorst in this video as he hopped on with an Australian broadcast, just talking about what's next for him in his career, and that Brian Windhorst talked about a couple of options. One could be getting a fully guaranteed contract, which would be about $4 million, but he might have to settle for a non-guaranteed minimum contract. As he says, at the end of the day, Ben Simmons' stock has been falling dramatically for years, as we've definitely seen that after leaving Philly, kind of going to the Nets, to the Clippers, kind of just bouncing around everywhere, just really trying to find his place in the NBA once again. But something else that he talked about as well that makes it really difficult for Ben Simmons is that not a lot of NBA teams are looking for a backup point guard right now. They don't really have the need for it, but it's been told us that the Knicks have been linked to him and one other team. That team could possibly be the Boston Celtics, but that statement was not made to who that other team was. But looking back, the Celtics were favorites to land Ben Simmons, so you could only think that that is the other team, and could be in need as they do have the open roster spot. But a guy like Russell Westbrook has also been having some trouble trying to find a team to sign with, and that goes into everything with the backup point guard position, that teams just aren't really looking for one right now. And is Ben Simmons willing to wait for the season to begin and wait a couple months down to find a team to sign him, because a lot of needs go down the line as there's a lot of injuries and some teams kind of figure out what they have and find that guys that aren't working out for them, they might need to replace them. And Ben Simmons could be a guy that could come in and just rock that non-guaranteed minimum contract or a guaranteed contract to finish out the season with them, whether it's a contender or just a low-tier team, just trying to figure things out and what works, and maybe down the line he gets a contract that's a little bit longer. But you could tell that it's kind of weighing on Ben Simmons that not many teams are really interested in him, because we saw that there was at least 5 teams that were talked into being interested in Ben Simmons. Now it's looking like just 2 teams, and one of them was the Boston Celtics. But if we look at this decision for the Boston Celtics to really go in on Ben Simmons, give him, whether it's a non-guaranteed minimum contract or a guaranteed contract, does that help the Celtics in any way? And does this make sense for the Celtics? I think that there's a few things that we could talk about with that. The first thing we'll talk about, the positives, of course, would be him defensively. I don't think that he would really be playing in that point guard position, even though he is a really good facilitator. When it comes to the defensive side of things, he's able to guard the 1 through 5. I think you feel very confident in that with his length and his size, that he can go down low and play that small ball 5, but still be able to facilitate at a high level, even though the negatives would be his offensive side, as the Celtics are known as a three-point shooting team. And I think we all know that Ben Simmons is not a three-point shooter whatsoever. But if you think about it on the facilitating sides of things, the Celtics do like to spread guys out and really just create an opportunity to get a 3 for somebody else, which I think that he is more than capable of doing. A lot of guys defensively back off of Ben Simmons, forcing him to shoot from the three-point line, which he isn't going to do. But if he goes downhill and brings a couple guys over, as he is still a big guy and can definitely finish at the rim, he could kick out to some of his teammates on the three-point line, whether it's a Derrick White or a Peyton Pritchard. But that's really all you're going to get from Ben Simmons, would be defensively and maybe his facilitating. But is that a role that Ben Simmons is going to want to play for any NBA team, whether it's the Celtics, the Knicks, or someone like that? It doesn't really seem that way, because he's considering retiring from the NBA instead of wanting to be an end-of-the-bench guy. So there's been some questions about if he still loves the game or not. But I think him talking about retirement, considering retirement, and his agent leaving him definitely are not good signs. And maybe the Celtics are dodging a bullet. They do have that open roster spot, do like going into the season with that open roster spot to look at some guys down the line. Maybe it's someone that they could bring in the middle of the season if Anthony Simons is dished off, getting them under the luxury tax and the first apron, because bringing him in now would definitely raise that, and that's something that Brad Stevens is not looking to do at this moment. But guys, thank you for watching the video. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Do you think Ben Simmons is really going to retire? And do you think that this could be a move for the Celtics down the line? If he doesn't consider retirement, would you consider signing him in the middle of the season just to see what he has and kind of bring something different to this team, as this is a season for opportunities for a lot of guys that really haven't had the opportunity to step up in a bigger role? Let me know in the comments below. Drop a like on the video. And thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. And let's go Boston Celtics. Peace out.